Hi there, good evening. I'm Esther, and I'm one of the co-founders of Conscious Enterprises Network. And together with Dominique and my other colleagues in this network, that it's bringing people like you who are mindful about what actions they're doing in the world and how we can, all of us, have an effect in creating a world we all want to be part of together from the bottom up. So we are going to start today with an agenda that is going to be very much about Dominique going from a very short recap of how the year has been for us. And then we will start with the story of a great mentor, Anatoly, who's going to talk about his story and what he's working on right now on a project. Teebei. Then we will move on to our wonderful conscious brander, Alan, who is going to talk about why conscious branding is so important in our lives, for ourselves as people, and also for whatever projects we are involved in. And finally, we will end up with the exciting Annette, who will tell us about her life story and how she got where she is right now. After a lot of different adventures, she will tell us a little bit about her quantum dojo. Unless you have any other questions. And of course, yes, as I mentioned, we will gather and mingle with our drinks and just have a nice time talking together and celebrating the end of the year. So yes, it's December, it's the end of 2021, and we got here together. Good to see you all. Some of the faces I know I never seen here in today's meeting, so it's good to see you. And I'm going to start presenting my co-founder, Dominique, and he's going to tell you a little bit about what we have achieved throughout this year. The stage is yours, Dominique.
Well, thank you very much, Esther. And I would like to thank you all for coming to our first seasonal webinar to tell you a bit what has happened in Chain, as we call it, since its creation. The creation took place conceptually about 2 years ago, back in 2019, where we felt that it was important to assemble conscious leaders throughout the world in one community. Never before in the history of humankind it's been so critical to get all the white people in the white community to allow them to work together, really sometimes for addressing very important, very critical questions. So at the beginning, we started as a directory. So people joining were part of this clever directory where you had members of a community worldwide. When we implemented the system, we decided to open up to give our members a voice, because lots of the members were writing articles, making videos, doing webinars, courses, and so on. And we wanted to make sure that they were using this platform, their platform, because Chain belongs to all of us, to actually tell the world what they were doing. So that was quite important. And at the same pace, we expanded into social media, using LinkedIn, for example, as a means to propagate all the good stuff our members were giving us, like articles, videos, and so on. Within a year, we reached, with LinkedIn, for example, we're just under 1,000 members. With the website itself, but the Conscious Enterprises Network website, we are reaching almost 150 members. Of course, what we want is people to join the website, but we did find LinkedIn has been a good platform to get more people becoming aware of what we're doing. What are we doing? Well, we've been involved with many different things, projects. We're working in collaboration with companies on the United Nations sustainability goals, specifically one which is to do with environment. We've been involved with other little projects to do with helping children, with computer technologies. And we're also working on an educational program for millennials. So we are quite active, and this is only the beginning. Keep in mind that it doesn't mean that it needs to be projects created by Esther, Anatoly, Annette, Alan, or myself. If anybody in the community can create a project, we're here to support it. You'll have our full support, so it's quite important. we're all here to work together. So it's, I cannot really put more emphasis on this point. And also, of course, we created a few months ago a journey to conscious leadership. Now, these webinars were designed to give people, not automatically people in our community, but people who we felt had something tremendous to tell humanity. For example, in the first one, we had Howard Gunstalk, who created the kelp farm in Ireland, which is probably the best way to address the CO2 absorption as a concept, which right now we are championing. So this is quite important. We're working with other people. We are looking, for example, at creating maybe some sort of economy within chain where members will be able to trade using chain credits for services or products, which is very important also for us, because especially in those days where we have challenges with the pandemic worldwide and other problems. So it is quite important that we embrace people who are outside our community, but people who have something fundamentally important to tell humanity, which could be really sometimes the difference between life and death. So we are totally committed to that. Now, you may wonder, what is it to be an organizer? Because obviously within our community, we have a small core of people working. Well, you can imagine, we got hardware to worry about. We got software, we got other, but the time, most of us, for example, Esther and myself, are working 7 days a week in China. We're working really many hours. I mean, when you see the website, you may think, okay, it's a website. There are many people involved in it. No, actually, no. We are a very small number of people who are actually making it happen. And we're totally dedicated to it because we know this is a right thing to do now. We got other activities, of course, beyond taking care of the social medias, website, and so on. We're looking for new members. We're looking for speakers and all these good things. Now, you may also wonder, what is it to be a member? When you're a member of Chain, what does it mean at the end of the day? Well, as a member, you're an ambassador. You're a Chain ambassador. And we're not going to tell you specifically what to do. We got our own expectation, but really, every ambassador is totally free to actually do the best he or she can to actually propagate Chain to other people who are conscious leaders, who want to become conscious leaders. So, it could be as simple as, for example, putting the Chain logo on your website, or maybe engaging with people, or even creating a chapter, a local chapter or national chapter. This is what membership is all about. The membership is free. But that doesn't mean that members should sit back and be passive. No, we want our members to be active. We want our members to be actively involved in the life of Chain, because, as I said, Chain is a very important initiative. We want to make it worldwide. We want to make sure that we grab as many conscious leaders as possible. And I thank you for you to give us your support to help us to make this dream come true. So I thank you all, and now I'm going to pass it back to Esther. And I think Esther is right now frozen.
Okay, thank you. And welcome everyone. It's been a pleasure to finally see you all like as a part of our organization. And, I have to say that hats off to our co-founders who are doing all the hard work. It's truly amazing the level of commitment that they're showing us. It's really quite inspiring. So for those of us who are conscious and who are unconscious, who are self-conscious, and whoever, who is trying to get there, it's great just to know that there is a place on earth, or at least in the virtual space, where we can all congregate. And the contribution that each and every one of us can have, it could be amazing. I would not probably say to an extent, like Dominique said, it could be a matter of life and death. I still believe in humanity. We can get there, before getting closer to the death part. And, we could actually make a difference. And all of us, except we just have to come out of our sleep and kind of shake our fist sometimes at whoever's doing things that should not be doing, and be aware of what we're saying and what we're doing ourselves. Luckily, for me, when Dominique reached out to me last June to offer this idea of becoming mentor for Chan, I decided to bring in my expertise of building up companies like NGOs and my experience of having worked with huge companies like BP, etc. I thought yes, maybe putting a little bit of oomph into the heart of Chan could help. And it did, because doing small things on a daily basis can actually take us to a place of great accomplishment. And that's where we are today. And having the first social meeting is a good sign, is a good milestone that we can celebrate. So let me tell you first a little bit about me. I will not really talk much about my spiritual journey that was very short or maybe too long, I don't know. We all live in the know. We don't even know how long it takes. So basically, it's just some of us have been lucky and blessed with various, gifts and abilities in this life, and just to help us along on this journey. That sometimes is important. For example, for me coming in to Chan from the world of ethics and compliance, I was also not very much inspired by the level of ethics that my peers in ethics and compliance sometimes demonstrate. So it kind of led me to believe that the world of conscious leaders out there could be the one that could offer a little bit of more hope. And that's where I met, Dominique and Esther, and I realized, yes, we're definitely getting there. So briefly, I'll just cover a few practical points, from my perspective of how I've gone to where I am with you guys. I'll kind of decided to approach it from a bit of a practical angle. It's interesting that sometimes that certain things that you learn in life, that help you gain that greater understanding of what this life and beyond is all about, could come in various shapes and sizes. And I just want to share with you that I was aware of certain things and abilities I had when I was a kid. They could appear a little bit strange and even stupid to you, because I realized early on that I could have an ability to extend the life of mechanical devices and electrical devices, which, was really not very practical when you were a kid. And you really want to just have some stupid toys to play with, not something really complicated. But over time, I decided to appreciate that sometimes durable objects were, just tended to be a little bit more durable than you would want them to be. So, and I remember I would ask my mother, I said, look, Mom, can I have a different watch than this pocket watch? Because kids are laughing at me at school. And it's about time for me just to have a real watch of a grown-up, not like this one of my granddad or something. Because my watch would never break. And anything I had never broke. And just, you may have heard about people that, sometimes their field interferes with objects and they could kill their cameras, computers. And there is actually such an interesting phenomenon called street lights interference. I think a doctor, his name was Hilary Evans, wrote a book about it back in 1993. So, but in my case, it was reverse. Anything I had, whether mechanical or electric, just really wanted to leave and never stop. So, and I remember my dad said, well, you can have my watch, because he was a Soviet Air Force pilot. He had a watch, and of course, the paint with the digits painted was radioactive, as every pilot at the time had. Say, no, thanks, I don't want that. That gives cancer. Maybe someday later, maybe for birthday. It's just, I don't really need to play with that stuff. So anyhow, it was interesting that it's not only me, but in my family where this ability ran. My younger brother, he found a very clever application for this when he started his telecommunications company. So, and that's actually still running today. And when some of his subordinates would report some malfunction in the server, in the data center, in the data room, he would say, okay, everybody out, he would walk in and glare at the equipment there and say, so who's misbehaving now? I told you, nobody's quitting until I retire. So back to work, go, go, go. And the machinery would start hum back and, blink and lights and everything. So he really exploited this ability with the, internet connectivity and the gadgetry and routers and devices and everything, which was funny. Same, applied to his car. And by the way, this laptop I'm using with you now is over a decade old. I never fixed it. It's still running. So there is some practical side to this. And I want to extend this story to a little bit more a human element, because I discovered early on that people with a mechanical or engineering background take a liking to me very quickly. That's how I ended up with BP, because people with a petroleum engineering background spotted me early on and they said, oh, you want to work with this guy? So like, well, I don't really look much of a, something having to do with machinery. I said, no. You're the kind of guy that we want to work with and we have complete trust in you. So that's how I ended up with BP for almost a quarter of a century, working with managers and senior executives. And that's how I discovered I had some other talents beyond that. As my consciousness grew of things beyond what I was able to do and observing what was going on around me and meeting other people, and especially people who actually strangely came from the world of technical science, and kind of rather complex things, that resonated with me even more. And it really helped me and nudged me along that spiritual path. When I quit, working for the company and I started really looking at other options, I became more aware of that the world we're living in today really needs some fixing. And we definitely need people out there who can and actually truly care about how things develop and whether the things are actually taking different turns and twists that we don't really appreciate because we would like to see something a bit more positive. And, that was actually the case that I started thinking about, that maybe something that we all can do could be really of tangible dimension. Like Dominique said, maybe a project-based, maybe not necessarily a project, but a certain initiative launched. So I decided to, when I met all these people through these connections, I decided to talk to them and see what we could do together in Chan and beyond. And basically certain ideas that we could implement jointly by putting our heads together, putting our abilities together, using the time to actually make a difference. And that's how I gravitated towards the project, that's called the, Transformative Business Ethics Initiative, because I'm coming from ethics, so I value integrity very highly. And that's what I usually appreciate in people who are part of Chan. We will be talking a lot today, and you will see a lot of them, and you will know that there's a lot that's happening. That's why I will not really talk at great length about what I do. I'll just explain to you how it's going to make a difference. Based on the fact that I have worked with senior executives, I realized that in this life, especially during the COVID pandemic, we can only rely on business leaders who can actually make a change. If they are put on the right path and actually helped along with like-minded people, that's where the project is meant to empower them to do things greater than they can do in their current capacity. Which means that, you'd probably heard a lot of other speakers who talk about, our leaders need more love, more empathy and stuff like that, which, is a bit of a nonsense, because those leaders, when they got there not just because they were truly loving and kind and so forth, right? They got there because they got shot elbows and stuff. And therefore, when they end up on top of the mountain, they really don't have any time to look down and see how people down there are faring. So to empower these leaders, to give them back that human dimension, that's how my project is structured. And it's based on my ability to put my mental state and transfer it to the people in power to basically allow them to regain their human side of them in this human dimension. And it could be explained from the scientific perspective. It's not like really it's something truly extraordinary, but it does work. It does work, and it does stick, and it does produce permanent results. So therefore, I was very happy that I was joined by Ellen Wallner and other people like Dr. Melinda Fouts and David Arts and other people, just to help me along to promote this project. So you could see on the slide what it does. I don't want to go over the words. You can read yourselves very well. I just wanted to identify things. One of the things we're doing, that we're hoping to achieve greater things with the help of everyone involved. Esther, you have to tell me when I need to shut up, because I can go on forever. So do I still have time, or is it time for me just to stop and kind of like taking questions?
You have still 4 minutes, but 4 minutes is 4 minutes.
Okay, well, that's a good thing. I really feel
maybe use your psychic abilities to detect when you need to stop.
I cannot do this simultaneously. It takes a different skill. I can only rely on this old, watch to tell me. So anyhow, but the idea is, okay, in this 3 minutes left. So basically the idea, the way it works, it's based on the mirror neural systems, it's based on the interbrain neural connectivity or synchronization. And that's actually been proven already by the science over the past decade. So that stuff, it does exist. The only difference is the strength of the signal, so to speak, of the neural oscillations between individuals, how this sort of like state of mind is transferred, because we can all now join that shared consciousness based on what, what's his name, Tom Fraser, from the Okinawa Science Institute has just demonstrated, and he published a story on that. So basically lots of things that used to be out there, fictional, it's now becoming tangible and attainable. So that's why, Chan is all about helping people bring online their abilities and actually do something similar and share their projects with us, or like maybe ask for help here and there. So therefore, launching any projects that could potentially make a lot of difference. Since all of us are living now in a world, surrounded with a lot of fake news, as they call it, actually trust decay and post-truth world. So we all need to be alerted to what's going on, but at the same time, do something to change this world for the better. Well, I hope I managed, to finish, within that time allotted to me, Esther, right?
Yes,
okay.
Very good. So we have a few minutes now for more interactive conversation with Anatoly. So anything you want to comment or anything you want to say to Anatoly about his life or anything he just said, please go ahead.
Hi, I'm David. I'd love to say something. Hey, everybody. Welcome from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm an executive coach, and I help my clients embrace their own unique expression of authentic, courageous leadership through the work that I do, which is another term for it is conscious leadership. And I had the great fortune of meeting Anatoly. I just want to ramp up the positivity here for his work through Alan, Alan Wallner, who also lives in Minneapolis, and we have a history with each other. When I had my first conversation with Anatoly, I have to say that there was a sense of feeling lifted in the conversation. If you've had a one-on-one with Anatoly, you know what I'm speaking about. And I love the neuroscience part of this, but what you provide is so practical and has been so, I've done Teebei with you, and certainly it opens up a flow and a new sense of resilience and ability to lift myself up and lean into my work more and into my relationships more. But I will also say it opens up areas of work that you need to do that you've been avoiding. But then there's also this part of you that says, it's time to get it done. And what I've seen in working with a lot of leaders in organizations is we're facing an epidemic of traumatized people in those positions. And trauma work is deep and important work to be done so that the wet blanket can come off of people so that they can lean and do the projects in the world that are going to make the difference. And I find that most of the people that I run into are very earnest in wanting to make a difference, but they also face their own blocks. And the ability to work with Anatoly for 2 hours and have that lifted and be clear to move forward is very profound. As you know, working with trauma can take a lot longer than that. And I'm curious, going back to a question to Anatoly, is what has to happen for people to be more open to what you do and to rise so we can get this world in better shape?
Oh, that's a good question, coming from you, David. Yeah, is that what you expected? Well, technically, it's all about visibility. That's the reason, Chan, it's all about visibility for all the people who can, make a difference. And especially, thank you for your kind word, David. People like you, you help spread the word. And these days, I think we're going back to operating by word, by word of mouth. we don't trust our media anymore. So therefore, we have to rely on the human connection, and that's where the human connection resonates the best.
Hi, this is Dr. Melinda Fouts, and I have a rather big dog. Sorry. Thank you for all that, Anatoly. I have to say, you said 2 things that stood out for me. We need to be aware of what we are saying and doing small things on a conscious basis can make a difference. I think part of the answer to David's question is bringing that awareness that the old, psychotherapy methods aren't going to remove the blockages as quickly. Everyone has blockages. Everyone has blind spots. Everyone has patterns of behavior that they're unaware of. And the work you do is swift, and everybody wants things faster, quicker. They don't want 2 years of therapy and work on trauma. And yes, the entire globe has been traumatized by this. People are still fear-based. I think we need, to me, the opposite of fear is love. And we need to move people more in this self-awareness that they need help, and there is help, and it doesn't have to take years. So I just really enjoy what you do, appreciate what you do. And I think you're right. Just interacting with people, when they have your trust, then they will put the toe in and say, yeah, I'll try this. Thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you, Melinda. For all of you who don't know Dr. Melinda Fouts, Melinda, you are an extraordinary person. I'm so happy I've met you. And, you're the only person I think on the face of this planet who've got extra skills and abilities that go way beyond your knowledge as a professional and a truly committed professional. What you do in your work, in your line of work, in your vision is just downright incredible. I really wish that this world would appreciate you more for what you do. But I'm very indebted and very grateful for the fact that we've met. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And yes, definitely. Anatoly, we're really with you in that we have to really continue connecting and rely on human connection. So now the next human we would like to present you, it's Alan Wallner, which is also very close to us. And he's going to give us a very short also presentation like Anatoly about what it took him where he is now as a conscious person. And actually, we just want to briefly say that Dominique and I, we met Alan. He was one of the first people we met, and he was we're very close to it's very dear to us because he was one of the first interviews we did was with Alan. He's a very, very nice, special person to Chen, and like also Anatoly, one of the first people we interacted with. So Alan, the stage is yours.
Well, thank you for the kind words, Esther. I appreciate that. Yeah, there's a lot to my story, so I'm going to kind of condense it down into kind of a nice little pathway here that aligns with kind of the bigger picture of what's been happening this last year or over the last couple of years. Basically, when I started my branding business, I was very passionate about it and had a lot of excitement, and I loved what I was doing. The thing about that, though, was that I sort of had a roller coaster business, as they say, where I worked really hard, worked long hours, and was always stressed out, and it always had these ups and downs. Things were really good at times and then really bad. And it was disrupting my personal life as well. And I was just kind of always stressed out, and things were just very inconsistent in my life. And this kept going on, and after a while, it just took a toll on me. I hit kind of a low point in my life. And during that low point, I did a lot of kind of internal reflection, meditating, journaling, sought out a lot of people to help me kind of work through this and figure out what it was. And, there's a lot of things going on with my family at the time. So that just made me really dig deeper into an understanding of myself. Through all of that introspective work, I gained a deeper understanding of myself and others and how I see the world. And the key thing that I had been missing prior to all of this was a clear purpose in my life. I had a vision for my business and kind of what I wanted to do, but there really wasn't that purpose there. And so with that, I started really building a whole process around integrating purpose with your business, because what I started seeing was that once you started having a clear vision around that purpose, you could then start believing in yourself a lot more, taking actions in a way that you started getting more consistent results. You also tapped into your energetic self. And that's what I learned about a lot in terms of the research that I was doing around what was kind of disrupting my life. And we're all energetic beings, and we all vibrate energetically. And you've heard the term like attracts like. Birds of the same feather flock together. Well, this is the same thing. If you're vibrating in a stressed out fashion or even low self-esteem, well, that's what you're going to be attracting to you. Businesses that may not be the best fit. You're going to be making decisions that aren't the best for your business and driving it into the ground all the time. And so learning that I needed to change my energetic vibration, my frequency, if you will, I was able to start seeing changes in my life. And I thought, well, if everything is made of energy, then even when I'm writing copy for my clients, I need to be putting that right type of energy into what I'm writing for them, not stressed out, oh my gosh, I got to hit this deadline type of energy. And so we really started taking a look at our whole process and changed all that. And as a result, felt that to better reflect kind of what we were bringing to the table here and my beliefs behind what I was doing, and to really communicate the gift that we were giving our clients, we changed our company name to Conscious Branding. There's a second slide there that I submitted also. So if you want to flip to that second slide, that kind of gets into kind of engaging, bringing in more of the beliefs into the foundational aspects of everything, integrating the purpose so that we can tap into that energetic life force. And that's what we're calling it, the brand life force. And that's the essence. And once you start vibrating like that, you start attracting more of those types of clients and even people to work with you. Life starts evolving and happening, and you stay focused on it on a regular basis. Now, the reason why I bring that up, because I spoke to that very quickly. So if anyone ever wants to hear more about that, I can definitely talk in more detail. But why that's all important is because the way I was vibrating, the way I was working on things, I decided to go out and start joining some LinkedIn groups. And that's where I saw Anatoly's post about, hey, I'm creating this new Conscious Enterprises Network website, and I'd appreciate any feedback you'd have. And so I messaged Dominique back about that, and lo and behold, he introduced me to Esther, and we started talking about the website and what it could be, and ended up helping them kind of develop a logo along with the website and some of the copy, and we worked together to kind of start getting this thing off the ground. That's also where I met Anatoly. Right here, you can start seeing how the people in my life have changed who are coming to me based on how I'm vibrating and what I've now imbued into my brand and my business. You know, we started kind of talking about all these wonderful things that can start happening with Conscious Enterprises Network. And then we were getting it all built, and then COVID hit. And then there were riots going on in Minneapolis, and the physical distancing, isolation, the racial division that was all being created. And I saw this huge struggle unfolding before my eyes globally, and that was really starting to bother me. And so my energetic vibration started kind of getting askew and all over again. And we were on one of our calls talking about the brand for Chen and the website. And afterward, Anatoly reached out to me and he said, hey, how you doing, Alan? And I noticed, how are things going? I noticed he seemed a little down, or he sensed my vibration was a little bit off or different. So I kind of shared with him what was going on. And so he goes, hey, I've got this ability. Would you be open to having me help you with that a little bit? And I said, sure. So basically, he was able to remove these barriers that I didn't realize I had, that were coming about based on everything that was happening in the world and what I was experiencing. The stress and trauma from my past business experiences, along with what was happening in the world, was beginning to cause various blocks, and basically was kind of inhibiting me from doing what I needed to be doing. It was taking me away from my purpose. So Anatoly helped me out, and I started noticing that things started shifting in my life again for the better. People were commenting on how I looked different, and hey, there's something about you, Al. What have you been doing? And I didn't tell him at the time about what Anatoly had done for me, but it's interesting that without any prodding, people were noticing a difference. I felt more free. I felt more aware of myself and others around me. And I even got deeper, more profound clarity around my purpose. Yes, conscious branding was still part of it, but there was a whole nother level, a whole nother tier that I wasn't even tapping into, that I needed to start pursuing. So I got more clarity around that vision. And then I started kind of discovering new gifts and new abilities and new skills that I didn't realize I had. Fear was removed, and I was just able to really tune in to things around me a lot more. And I almost felt like I was getting this whole notion of what I was trying to start with conscious branding. It started becoming on steroids here. And as I got accustomed to these changes, I started realizing that, hey, there's a lot going on in the world right now. Small and mid-sized companies are the backbone of the U.S. economy, along with the communities. And this goes globally as well. All of a sudden, we're seeing more taxes, mandates, fines, lockdowns, racial division, supply chain issues, the great resignation, chaos of disinformation, and cancel culture. Just all this stuff is just being thrown at businesses. And I started seeing that this is kind of a, in a sense, an attack on small and mid-sized companies. There's a lot more going on here. To continue on that conversation is a deeper conversation for another time. But what I was really understanding here is that there's a lot of mental health issues and suicide rates on the rise as a result of all this trauma and stress that's being put on people and on business leaders. If Anatoly could do for me, if he could do that for other business leaders, then I needed to get this out, and I needed to get this out to these business leaders to help them get through this. Because if we aren't able to be healthy and to be able to continue, then we're going to have greater issues as time goes on. Because we're not going back to the old normal. We need to create, there's a new normal happening. And if you want to call it normal. So we have to create something of our new future, something where we're going to be going. So as a result, I took a look at Teebei, the methodology that Anatoly has, and we created transformative business ethics, and that's to support Teebei. And it's basically to start unleashing these caliber of leaders that are needed today to overcome these challenges that are being set forth. And that way we can start creating more dependable success. And not only that, but if we've got this conscious branding approach, we've got these business leaders who are really purpose driven to start having an impact on the world and creating a better place for everyone. And by integrating ethics, we can start getting that integrity back into companies. There's so much corruption out there right now with government, with businesses, that we need to start reining this in, and we need to start getting this all together and to get the employees and partners and vendors all as part of it. That's a transformative business ethics is a great program for businesses as well as the leaders in the business. Then we started another company called Relique, which is Reconstructive Leadership Boutique, and that is for to be the catalyst for true global leadership champions, to give them a sanctuary where they can reconstruct, recharge, and transform while not having anything imposed on them in the process. It's a place where they can develop and be around other leaders like them who have a greater purpose and are working through all of this that's going on the global scale. And lastly here, we are kind of tapping into an initiative that Anatoly had been working on. But so from conscious branding to transformative business ethics to Relique, we're leading up to an organization called World Without Corruption. And that's where we're able to empower people in all spheres of life, put their talents together, and to kind of make the UN Convention Against Corruption work, and to reduce the corruption globally, and just basically start getting companies working together to start getting us back on track so that we can be heading in the right place and create this world that needs to be created to get us out of where we are today. So there's a lot here and a lot going on, but this is something that I truly believe is what needs to happen today. And it's a way for us to create a better world through our companies together as business owners who understand the value of integrity and their calling to lead communities and society through these times of adversity. I hope I wasn't preaching too much today, but I really wanted to share kind of what we were up to, and showing how when you're working from a conscious brand perspective, you can really start digging deep and you can discover areas within you, along with Teebei, that you didn't know you had before. And now I have conscious branding kind of supporting these three organizations. We're calling on leaders from all around the world who want to have an impact and create a better world and change what's happening today. So that's what I've been up to.
Yeah, so if you have any questions also on Alan's journey also with his life, or why he created conscious branding or anything, just go ahead now.
I'm curious, when you're working with a business, obviously it's different from the way you used to do branding. So what is it that you do with leaders initially to help them get connected to that energetic quality and infuse that into the brand, if you have a short answer for that?
Yeah, there's a whole process that we kind of go through where we look at core values and we talk about energy, so they understand that. I have kind of a wheel that we map out, and it's about essence, it's about culture, it's about thriving, it's about leadership, it's about having an impact, it's about how do you create a value. And we kind of go around that wheel, and we take time to create a purpose, a vision, and a belief around each one of those areas. And it's tapped into their personal beliefs, but also aligned with their business. And then by doing that, we create a larger kind of brand vision around that. And that's sort of what becomes the foundation. I walked through that very quickly, but we spend a lot of time kind of digging deep into that. And there's various exercises that need to be done to kind of fill out that wheel. But that becomes their brand guide star, which, through the process also, they're able to kind of feel their brand. The hair on the back of their neck should start rising up, and then they know that they're accurate with how they're representing themselves and how they truly are being in the moment when they're talking about what they're doing. And I mean, literally, when we're there talking, I mean, I can even feel the hair stand up on the back of my neck, and oh yeah, I can feel that too. And okay, now that when you start feeling that, you know you're doing it right. And so it's a shoulder to shoulder process, and we kind of work with them that way.
Alan, we have a question from Anjali, and she asks, how does conscious branding cancel culture? Isn't cancel culture the natural consequence of hypocritical values found in a business or a brand?
I think cancel culture is also politically driven as well, and it is also fear-based. And so, and I guess those individuals who are in the cancel culture have fear as one of their values. So you have to really kind of take a look at what your core values are and be true to those core values. Is one of my values being highly integrous? Is it being loving? Is it being peaceful? So yes, I do believe if you are being true to your core values, you can override that cancel culture, and you have to rely on that. And that's when you have to kind of slip back into yourself and kind of surrender to everything that's around you and really believe in yourself and what you are doing, and that you are a good person regardless of what the cancel culture is doing to you, and step up and fight for what you believe in, basically. And you see a lot of companies right now who are business owners who are afraid to step up and say something because they're afraid it's going to run their business into the ground. So what's driving that? Fear. So that's what cancel culture is. It's all based on fear. And so if you need your core values to overcome fear.
Annette, are you ready for the last presentation today?
Yes, certainly am.
So yes, Annette is one of our last big collaborators for Chen. And she would like to talk to you about her journey, where she has achieved very interesting services that are really coming from her deep core of all this life journey of becoming the Bushido, the inner Zen that she is there, going through lots of different moments where she became so connected to her core, and she created a life business that is very, very meaningful. So I hope you enjoy also Annette, and I'll let you start, Annette, now. The stage is yours.
And thank you for everybody else that's spoken already today. Also, it's a good, always good, really good conversations and thought-provoking. Like everybody else, it's quite difficult to condense. So the reason why I've got quite busy slides here is because I'm trying to touch on a few points just for sort of context. For me, the whole point of Journey to Consciousness is that on my own personal journey, I was kind of born on a mission. So I don't feel that I've had a conscious journey like many have. I feel that my journey was kind of opened up to me as a child, and that predominantly was through the idea of animals, the planet, human rights, children, and so on. And basically, those that don't have a voice. So it came through really thick and strong to me from a very young age that I was here to kind of fight for these things, as it were. The difficulty, as lots of people I'm sure have experienced, is that if you have that real open heart and love for Mother Earth and the animals and people and everything, and then you go out there and look at the world, when you're really young, that can affect you quite deeply. So I went on a journey of having quite a lot of anxiety and depression, and by the time I was 17 I was quite suicidal and did try a couple of times to take my own life, because I actually felt the pain of being on earth was just too great for me, because I didn't like to see the harm, and I didn't think I could actually cope with it. That's why you'll see this photo's got peppered with a lot of martial arts, because up to that point, my whole life was about words, it was about music, it was about art, it was about more the creative side. And I just kept getting this nudge to kind of go to the Eastern stuff, to go to martial arts. And I have to be honest, the creative part of me was like, oh my God, that looks too disciplined and structured. I don't really think I'll do well in it. But actually, it kind of completed the total opposite journey. And what I found with Bushido was a string of core values and ethics that really spoke to me. And at that time, I was simultaneously studying philosophy and a lot about practical ethics. And some of you might have heard of a guy called Peter Singer. He was very popular from the 70s upwards, and he really got me into environmental ethics and stuff through philosophy. During that martial arts journey, I started to understand the play, the dance of yin and yang, and the understanding that I'd come into the world pretty yin on the creative and the empathic and kind of more the spiritual path, but I was lacking, I guess, the yang side, because I couldn't really cope with it. So going through the whole martial arts journey, I always sort of joke and say it saved my life, but I am being really serious about it. It helped create a backbone in me, and it created a direction for that sort of activism. And it made me really understand about being a fearless leader, and knowing that to be on conscious missions, you are up against quite a lot all of the time. And in my pre-state, if I was going to get hurt and upset by comments or discouraged and so on and so forth, I wouldn't be very good on this journey. Over many, many years, I kind of cut this down quite short. But over the last sort of, 30 odd years, I kind of achieved 3 black belts. I became a master instructor. I then created the UK's first female academy that sort of really had a mixture. So the pictures you see there, we had like a holistic juice bar, healing rooms, we had leadership classes, we had lots of different things going on. We went out to speak to businesses, we had outreach, we did a lot of work with local children, lots of trauma related things because of obviously all the healing rooms, and really bringing in world philosophy and healings and teachings. And on that journey, I'll obviously see some trophies at the bottom there. I ended up being part of Team GB kickboxing champion squad, so I ended up being a world kickboxing champion. And the reason why I threw that picture in is because what I learned from that was this thing about interdependence. And prior to that, as a young person, you want independence, you want to be your own thing. And I was very creative and maverick, and I wanted to do my own thing in my own way and got on my own path, which is all well and good. But what the martial arts taught me was that when you're actually in a group of people, if people genuinely are loving and supportive, and there's equality and diversity and all these beautiful, rich things that we can have in these relationships, that exponentially you achieve more growth. So through the mindset, through the the neuro stuff, through all the different things that I learned on my journeys, I started to piece together the real meaning of mind, body, spirit, and why in sort of Eastern philosophy that's so important. The pictures there of like Monument Valley in America are just little kind of snippets of me going out and seeking shamans and healers and sages and indigenous peoples, and spending time in really beautiful land and connecting to the earth. The picture in the top there about the elephants is a sanctuary in Sri Lanka that I went to and spent time with the elephants, and the picture at the bottom is like my daughters and our wolf dog and so on and so forth, in one of my books. So if you want to go to the next slide, all those things kind of brought me together to have this journey where I thought, what would be really good for entrepreneurs? Because one of my students said to me that the bottom left there, that when people come into this dojo, they've got their own, thoughts and ideas and dreams, and what they're actually taking away from it is a way to embody things. And embodiment to me became really important, because you can have academic understanding, or you can have information out there. But really, when we're talking about people that are conscious, they tend to be, like some of the people have commented today, it tends to come from a place of love. And when we are heart-centered and in that space, that's more of an embodied space. So I really got interested in this kind of idea of what would have really helped me on that journey. Now, one little thing that I missed off there is through the creative part, the only jobs I have ever had, so the only places I've ever worked were in creative marketing design agencies. I really fell in love with marketing, and I know a lot of people see it as a bad thing, but I just used to see it from like the planetary rights thing, going, well, if we don't get these messages out there, how can we share that information with people? How can we raise enough money? How can we put the infrastructures in place? So I got really interested in that. Now, it sounds a bit counterintuitive, but I then tracked down lots and lots and lots of multimillionaires, people that had made tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. And I wanted to know how they did it. And I wanted to know, how could I put together sort of the world's first conscious dojo that actually brings in mission-driven entrepreneurs and helps them with every single thing that they need on their journey to go out and be that fearless leader, to actually really achieve those missions. And what I often find, and this is kind of the quantum part of it, when we are on our own and we set these goals and aspirations and things that we're really passionate about, we can get so far, and that's great. But often, you know, if you have a team around you and you have people supporting you, coaching you, guiding you, looking after you, there's a quantum leap that happens, because there is a part of that team's energy that comes in and it raises that vibration and frequency up even more. So we got really interested in sort of vibration and frequency marketing, and we got really interested in this whole idea of sharing and offering, because it's interesting that the last lady just mentioned about words, because people say marketing and sales and think, ugh, yuck, bad, pushy, don't like it. Whereas if we say sharing and offering, what we're doing is we're sharing the missions, we're sharing these stories and these messages, and we're offering whatever it is that that person's doing. And coming back to Bushido, if we're working on the foundations that we're doing this out of integrity, we're doing it for benevolence, we're there because we're loyal to the cause and the missions, and we are honest, and we have that sort of inner courageousness to be fearless on that mission. Because as I said, you know, all of you have had social media experiences, and sometimes people are not kind. Sometimes people post things that they're trying to be supportive and put things out, and then people are there on the keyboards typing all kinds of horrible things. So for me, a lot of the black belt stuff, a lot of the Bushido stuff is really about having that inner strength. And its fear's been mentioned quite a few times today. And I can honestly say, hand on heart, through the whole of this, let's politely call it a pandemic, but you know, we kind of know what it is, that I haven't been touched by fear, and I haven't been touched by concern or worry or anxiety, because my grounding is so deeply entrenched in the power of Mother Earth and what we're actually here to do. That to me is outside noise. Now, okay, it's working, and you can really honestly say that's a good marketing campaign. They did their research, they did their psychological testing, they did all the things that they needed to do to get that result. So just those little kind of things that it's mentioned on there. So the mission really inside the dojo is having those foundations of Bushido. Inner alchemy, obviously this has been talked about tonight already, about the energy, our traumas, all the things that we bring with us from the amount of time that we've been on the earth and pre-earth and ancestral and so on and so forth. So inner alchemy is all about our own inner work, because what I often find from a mission perspective is we all come with an external, which would be something like, how can I get my message out to more people? Or I would like a new website, or I want to create this program. So they're externals, and that's wonderful. But then we have to look within first and make sure, are we aligned to that? And are we actually going to allow that and bring that in? Or are we going to be subconsciously sabotaging it? Or you know, is our energy right for it? So for me, the two foundations of the inner alchemy and the Bushido are a must. We need to be operating from those. The conscious digital business is just about helping people create mission maps, so that whatever your cause, your mission is, what you are here to do, you have some sort of strategic component. So this is more the yang side. This is where we kind of start to move into the yang and inspired action taking. and making sure, because we call them soulscapes, and it's funny because Alan just touched on a little bit about this when he said about the hairs on the back of your neck, and the soulscape works in the same way, that once you have a piece of film created for you or a website created for you, you need to feel like, oh my God, that speaks to me. That's my soul. That is like, oh my God, I'm so excited. Because if it doesn't carry your vibrational signature and that energy and the passion you have for that purpose and mission, then other people aren't going to pick up on it. And because for conscious businesses and conscious leaders and conscious mission people, we're on such a different frequency from a lot of people that we cannot afford any ounce of our energy to be brought down, to be tainted, to be in fear or anything. So we have to make sure that's really, really strong. And then the last piece that we have as kind of some of our core areas inside the dojo is that creative digital agency I've just mentioned. So that's where we'll then piece things together and kind of build them. So if we just go on to the last slide, I'm just using these as a little bit of a demonstration, so that the little pyramid on the left is a very, very, very high level overview of a mission map. And it's something that we want to make sure that everybody has, so that you can look at what you are doing. Because if you have real consummate clarity and you have supreme confidence and you have the tools and the team, then I personally believe there is nothing to stop that mission really compounding and making exponential growth. So I kind of made it on my mission of going through the things that I did and the experiences that I've had. I felt like they brought me to a place that when I sit down and listen to people's stories and journeys, I can empathize with those. I have been through making $1 million and losing $1 million. I've been through domestic violence. I've been through this whole sort of suicide thing. I've been through, kind of building businesses and all these different things, and divorce and all kinds of things. And so you often find the people that are on a mission will have a rich journey. They will have had some sort of trauma. They will have had something. And I personally believe that, and that's just my opinion, that we get given these missions based on the degree of what we're able to live through and then grow stronger from. Because if I sat here and said something like, oh yeah, I do mission work all day and I was born into a billionaire family and I just sit there writing checks all day for charities, but I can help you, I don't really see how I would have any understanding about life, about our traumas and challenges and frustrations and so on. So in this slide, it's just about demonstrating how we can connect with people online, how we can share and offer things with them, how we can create different offerings that you may not have thought of. So for example, if you are a speaker, then you might want to look at having a book. If you've got a book, we might want to look at having a digital program. And the reason why all these things are really important is because it's all about getting those missions out to as many people as possible, if that's relevant for you. As I said, if your particular mission is I want to work with 10 CEOs a year, then you would obviously have a completely different strategy to somebody who's maybe an author or speaker who might say, I'd love to get that out to 1 million people. So these kind of mission maps, as I was saying, are always really bespoke to the individual. And just in sum total, kind of tie this back into Chen, when we all kind of first met, what I saw in Chen was that beautiful potential, that there's lots of leaders, lots of amazing people with these ideas and businesses. From a mission point of view, I always feel like, how can I help somebody really exponentially grow their mission? How can I help them offer something that they may not have noticed before or spotted? And I mentioned 3 different departments, so this isn't me. This is teams of people, and we always collaborate. And I think it was Alan, you just mentioned about when your vibration is higher, then you meet people naturally. And what I love about this is that collaborative element. So, for example, Esther connected me with a filmmaker. She just did that naturally. And I was like, oh my God, I'm your number one fan. So now he's working with us kind of on our film part. And that's how I love that, because then the team keeps growing as we keep meeting more and more people, because invariably, people will kind of come into the inner alchemy department. You're either working on the inner part of the human, or you're going to be more in the sort of the strategic business building element, or you could be on that kind of creative external element. So we always end up finding people that can add something to the mix. And I want to finish off with a little quick story just to sort of demonstrate this. So really a long time ago, when I was training a lot, and we was training for an upcoming tournament in Switzerland, and just by chance, just the way it was, I was doing some training with one of my teammates. I got my foot stuck in the mats and I broke my foot. And it was like about 4 days out from going, and we were just putting hand wraps around my foot and whatever. And so I hobbled home, and I was like, that's probably not really good. I'll probably go to the hospital. I didn't at first, because I just thought, it might be a little bit of a bad sprain and I can sort of fix it. But I went over to the hospital, and the doctor did the X-ray and all the things that the doctor did in the A&E. And the first thing he said to me is like, well, can you live without martial arts? Because martial arts can live without you, and you've broken your foot. And I think that every year from now on, you're going to have an arthritic foot. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was probably like 21 at the time. And I remember thinking, oh, right, okay, that was a pretty fast diagnosis. I went home, and because of all my training and because of all the traveling and all the journeys and all the masters and all the people that I'd been meeting, I sat there and thought, okay, that's his opinion. I don't necessarily have to take on that as my reality. So I thought, okay, what team do we have locally that is always bussed up, but they're competing? And we had a local ice hockey team. And if anybody knows ice hockey, sometimes they have a little bit of a bust up on the rink. So I rang up and I said, I believe you're the team for the Panthers. And I explained the situation. I said, I'm supposed to be flying to Switzerland in 3 days. I've been told by this doctor I've got no chance. So they said, sure, come in, we'll have a look at you. So they did a bunch of stuff on me, and I said, so what do you think? And they went, oh yeah, no problem, you can fight, it's not a problem. So I was like, okay. So literally within 24 hours, I've had two polar opposite opinions. Now, obviously I went with the one that was more in line with what I was thinking, that I don't believe that it's not possible. So in the end, they strapped me up, bunched me off, shoved me out onto the plane. I got there, and in this particular way, the tournament was in Switzerland. There was lots of different categories and lots of different things happening in the day. So we didn't finish till like 11 o'clock at night. And my last bout kind of on the mats was about 10:30 p.m. And I was thinking, oh my God, my foot. But because I had brilliant coaches, and because I had a team, and because I was supported, they were just firing things at me, because you've got to think with the whole point about Bushido, and for any of you that are familiar with Sun Tzu and the art of war and all those kind of things, it's strategy, and it's about confidence, and it's about ability, and it's about knowing when to put your energy in. So they were saying to me, do this, do that, whatever. And I managed. And by the end of it, it's on that previous picture, there's a great big cup that I won from that. Now, what was important to me was not so much the winning in the cup. A really nice thing happened on the way back. I was the last on the plane. Pilot sort of said, I just want to say we've got Team GB on the plane today, and everyone's like clapping away. But I got on the plane last because I was hobbling along my leg. So they said to me, and this is one of their injured people, and they sort of said a little bit of story about what happened to me. So they bumped me up to first class and gave me some champagne, and everyone was clapping and whatever. But my biggest memory from that, the reason why I like to share the story, is because it really gave me an insight at that point into consciousness of going, it really is about what you truly believe is possible. And the reason why I mentioned that I don't let the fear in of what's going on around the world right now is because that would be a success to the people who are intending the fear. But I don't subscribe to that. So sometimes people find my methodology and stuff a bit yang and a bit full on, but that's because, let me take you right the way back to the beginning. When you are fighting for the voiceless, when you are fighting for Mother Earth and for our animal kingdoms and for our children and for our people that don't have the resources that some of us have, sometimes it's a bit of tough love. And, you know, and I just wanted to share that last piece, because inside Chen, I think we have a tremendous opportunity for conscious conversations, yes, but most importantly, for conscious missions, and to actualize them and make the biggest difference that we can, and help each other in any way that we can, and collaborate and join with each other and work with each other, and really help make it so that it's about, like this time next year, it's about the outcomes and what we have achieved collectively. So that's I kind of have no idea about the message, but the timing. So hopefully that's in time.
Yes, wonderful, Annette. That was so inspiring and such an interesting journey, that so many points in your journey can inspire a lot of us. And I let the floor now being open, because I'm sure many people have different things to comment on your presentation.
I can come in just very quickly, because one point that really resonated with me, and I loved the whole presentation. Thank you very much. The thing that resonated with me was the thing about fear, and it being a mindset. And when you sort of accept that fear, I actually wrote today to someone about the fact that I've done the fire walk 7 times, and they asked, well, why did you need to do it 7 times? Surely the first time was the epiphany and that was it. And I said, well, yes, it was. That was the epiphany. That was when I realized I could do it. But going back and doing it again with other people, taking people out of their fear and showing them that they could actually conquer a fire walk, being able to do it with others and share that knowledge that you can go and do something that's impossible is when you really step up. And so that's why I really thank you for sharing that. And it's really important that we understand it's not always just doing it for ourselves. Once we've done it, we then have to go out there and show others and be a leading light, so that others realize and understand that they can also conquer that fear and go beyond it and achieve the impossible.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we used to do fire walks actually, and I agree with you. Sometimes you do have to do things multiple times. As you said, one's the lead by example, but another time it's also about, if you keep on facing fears and challenges. I mean, I've got loads of stories, we'd be here all day, but like, we used to put black belt challenges on for that particular reason of like, okay, you've achieved this, now let's look at a fear or something that makes you uncomfortable over here, and then let's go and kind of conquer that one. So yeah, it's a really important thing.
So here, if anything, Annette, I'm listening to you, and I really, really wish you well. I have to wish you well, because you mentioned some little snippets, that people that are on these types of missions of wanting to create a conscious world, it have had trauma. You have been openly willing to give your snippets of the divorce and making $1 million, losing $1 million. You also mentioned when you're fighting for the voiceless for Mother Earth, sometimes it's tough love, but you also showed your self-love by getting off of your foot and giving yourself pause on Bushido, even though that it gave you such discipline to do well. The rebellious quest, I noticed on little teeny tiny slide, I think it has 8 steps. I definitely look forward to seeing how these 8 steps evolve. I do not know how I'll be able to be part of it, but I definitely want to see the rest of your journey. It looks like it's going to be fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's 5 steps because I snapped a picture of it. So Annette, I really want to honor you, because you came out, and the impression that I got is that, okay, first of all, you're female, and this has been a male-dominated program. 2, you have shown an enormous breadth with what you're doing and your clarity around it. You spoke very, very, very clearly, and I really honor that. And you seem to, instead of finding out how to take what you are doing and make it conscious, it seems so much more so that you're taking, how do I use my drive for consciousness in a way that can create at least a small corner of betterment and opportunity and truthfulness and clarity and all of these things. And I just really want to acknowledge that. Years ago, I went to something called CEO Space out in Henderson, Nevada. And they really worked strongly with people to bring out that kind of heart energy. And everything you presented here, it's a departure
from the general business model, in the sense that it seems that you're building it from your goal, which I just want to acknowledge that.
Yeah. Thank you. And it's interesting because I think things evolve for everybody, and on a one-to-one basis, I've sat down with over 2,000 entrepreneurs in the last sort of 10 odd years, and that's not groups or speaking or anything, and I think somebody else said it earlier tonight, that there's always that thread of commonality of people wanting to make a difference. But what I've just observed so much from so many people is often the roadblocks, and it could be an external how-to, or it could be an internal kind of block. And I think what you just said there is probably a really nice way of putting it, in the sense of, I feel really strongly passionate about helping people move through that, because I honestly genuinely believe that we all came here for a reason and a purpose. And that one thing I always feel about mission leaders is the fact that you've been given that mission, that calling, because you can do it. But also, we're often our own worst enemy, because we're kind of the ones that get in our own way as well. So that little merry dance has always been quite interesting to me. And I guess I feel really strongly about people being everything that they came here to be, and having that opportunity to make a big difference.
We're all overpowered by the Shakti power of Annette, and the men don't want to say anything.
Shakti's essential.
Of course. She's
Even
the Mother
God,
Earth.
Even God is controlled by the love of Shakti.
So Anne wants to say something. Anne, just unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'll just make it really quick. I want to thank all the speakers today for the courage that on your lowest time in your life, when that switch went really dim, that you decided to ignite the inner purpose in yourself and help all of the world with your leadership and personal skills. So thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
I think everybody's tired now. Everyone's done.
If I can say a word, we were talking about Shakti a few minutes ago. The interesting thing is that there is, in Hinduism, there is part of a mythology of the creation of the gods. A lot of people obviously know about Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu. And a lot of Indian people are not aware of this, but there is a trend in the esoteric Hinduism which describes the creation of the gods of Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu. And it's a feminine force which creates all the creation, including the primary gods, the three primary gods. So, Michelle, when you were talking about this, that came back to me, and I thought, yes, I got to say something. And another thing I want to say is I'm writing a book now, and I'm actually rewriting Genesis, because I think the way the Catholic Church and the Christian churches in general are showing Genesis is completely corrupted. When following the Genesis, when God created Adam, he created Eve afterwards. Just think a moment. When we create a car today. 10 years later, we create another car. That car is more advanced in many ways. It may have a GPS, the other one didn't have one. It may have an ABS, the other one didn't have one. It may even self-drive, whereas the other one wasn't. The point was a better product than Adam. And in my rewriting, all the symbology of a snake is a Kundalini, is the Shakti, which actually is expressed through Eve. And Eve becomes the first cosmic teacher, which brings enlightenment to all of creation. So yes, Michelle, there is a lot to say about Shakti.
Just one thing. Well, I'm just wondering if everyone wants some Shakti. We were having a little conversation, a side conversation about whether or not we should send out a blast of Shakti, because never mind.
Nicolas, you want to say something? I could see your body language when Dominique was talking about female, and you said, no, it's not like that. We're the first ones.
Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for all that you gave today. Thank you very much. I really appreciate to be among you. No, I was thinking when Dominique was talking and comparing to modern industry and to making analogy through our modern society comparing to law of universe, to compare it with social laws, industrial laws and modern laws. I was thinking, oh, very interesting comparison way. But then at the end I was thinking, yeah, who knows? Who knows?
Exactly. Who knows? And you know, at the end of the day, history is always written by the ones that have won oppression over the others, and we are not all have got the right to speak up still in this world where we're living. So I think we still time to rewrite history, and we can do it together with our projects, with our lives, with our messages, with our work, with our communities. And thank you for being here, and thank you for your time. And we look forward to seeing you again. And again, as Dominique was saying, we are here working together. We are really want to interact with you in any ways or any things you can give us, whatever that sharing is up to you. And whenever you're ready to share to the world, we are here, and we would like to share too with you our time, our opinions, our thoughts, our jokes. And Dominique, would you like to say something? Anatoly or Alan, Annette, you can also say something to say goodbye.
Well, I would like to thank everybody who came today. And I know today, compared to the other sessions we've done, this has been a very long one. This was a seasonal one. This was our little Christmas and New Year celebration, or seasonal celebration, really. And yes, next year we'll have another one. And then we'll be able to reflect on what has happened in the last 12 months. So I'm really looking forward for the December 2022 social webinar.